Hey, I want to talk about this video that's getting a lot of attention on YouTube. It's called There Are No Forests on Flat Earth. Now, I don't agree with this flat Earth theory, and I really don't want a bunch of comments about it. I'm just going to delete them. But the rest of the information that this Russian gentleman put forth, I thought was pretty interesting. Now, his theory is that a lot of the mesas and some of the mountains and places like Devil's Tower were really giant trees that were cut down and they're petrified now. He also theorized that a lot of the canyons are just remnants of ancient mining activity, such as the Grand Canyon. I do think that he has some good points, and there is a petrified forest in Arizona, and I'm going to post some links to some scientists talking about it, but they have a lot of petrified wood there that did turn into precious stones. So that point that he makes about the petrified wood turning into precious stones is correct. What was interesting also was that that area of Arizona is now a desert, but it was a lush forest, and they had evidence of dinosaurs that were there. So what happened? We don't know. Now, if you take a look at some of these mining pits of today, the strip mining, they do look like giant canyons. So I can kind of see what he's talking about there. Now, some other references were made to the movie Avatar. And if you haven't seen that, it's about a group of humans going to another planet to mine it for precious minerals. And to get to those minerals, they have to destroy these ancient trees on that planet. And to do that, they create these avatars in the shape of these giant creatures that are blue. What was interesting to me in that movie was they had a planet that looked like Jupiter in the sky on this planet they were mining that they called Pandora. So it's always the opposite, or it's always the same mix of mythology and hints at what happened in the past. But as I said, I believe that this gentleman had some excellent points about mining activity, because that is talked about quite a bit in the ancient books. Diodorus Siculus talks about it over 2,000 years ago. He wrote about all of the slaves that had to mine and how the life was horrible. And in the Nag Hammadi library, they talk about it. So I just want to briefly read some of this and give a little more input on this ancient mining. And you can see here too, here are some pictures of strip mine land. I'm going to read from Diodorus Siculus's Library of History, Volume 3, in my book, page 195. And it's about the mining activities on this planet. But at a much later time, the Iberians, having come to know the peculiar qualities possessed by silver, sunk notable mines, and as a consequence, by working the most excellent and we may say the most abundant silver to be found, they received great revenues. The manner then in which the Iberians mine and work the silver is in part as follows. The mines being marvelous in their deposits of copper and gold and silver, the workers of the copper mines recover from the earth, they dig out a fourth part of the pure copper, and among the unskilled workers in silver, there are some who will take out a euboic talent in 3 days. For all the ore is full of solid silver dust which gleams forth from it. Consequently, a man may well be filled with wonder both at the nature of the region and at the diligence displayed by the men who labor there. Now, at first, Unskilled laborers, whoever might come, carried on wealth away with them, since the silver-bearing earth was convenient at hand and abundant. But at a later time, after the Romans had made themselves masters of Iberia, a multitude of Italians have sworn to the mines and taken great wealth away with them, such as was their greed. For they purchase a multitude of slaves, whom they turn over to the overseers of the working of the mines. And these men, opening shafts in a number of places and digging deep into the ground, seek out the seams of earth, which are rich in silver and gold. And not only do they go into the ground a great distance, but they also push their diggings many stades in depth and run galleries off at every angle, turning this way and that. In this manner, bringing up from the depths the ore which gives them the profit they are seeking. Great also is the contrast these mines show when they are compared with those of Attica. The men, that is, who work the Attic mines, although they have expended large sums of the undertakings yet, now and then what they hoped to get they did not get, and what they lost, so that it would appear that they met with misfortune in a kind of riddle. But the exploiters of the mines of Spain, in their hopes, amassed great wealth from their undertakings, for their first labors are remunerative, thanks to the excellent quality of the earth for this sort of thing, and they are ever coming upon more splendid veins, rich in both silver and gold. For all the ground in that region is a tangled network of veins which wind in many ways. And now and then, as they go down deep, they come upon flowing subterranean rivers, but they overcome the might of the rivers by diverting the streams which flow on them by means of channels leading off at an angle, for being urged on as they are by expectations of gain, which indeed do not deceive them. Now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. It says, but to continue with the mines, the slaves who are engaged in the working of them produce for their masters revenues in sums defying belief. But they themselves wear out their bodies both by day and by night in the diggings under the earth, dying in large numbers because of the exceptional hardships they endure. For no respite or pause is granted them in their labors, but compelled beneath blows of the overseers to endure the severity of their plight. They throw away their lives in this wretched manner, although certain of them who can endure it by virtue of their bodily strength and their persevering souls suffer each hardships over a long period. Indeed, death in their eyes is more to be desired than life, because of the magnitude of the hardships they must bear. Okay, and it continues on and talks about the Phoenicians and tin mining. It says tin also occurs in many regions of Iberia, not found, however, on the surface of the earth, as certain writers continually repeat in their histories, but dug out of the ground and smelted in the same manner as silver and gold. For there are many mines of tin in the country above Lusitania and the islets which lie off Iberia, out in the ocean, and are called because of the fact the cassitarides. Okay, I'm going to stop. This was written over 2,000 years ago, and if anybody studies what happens to the miners, even in recent times, like out in the old west of America, the Black Hills, the gold rush, those gentlemen worked pretty hard. They got ill, they got sick, yellow fever. And if they were lucky to find some gold, which they immediately sold for cash. They were pretty much delivered of whatever they made by what somebody would call mining the miners. That would mean providing them with prostitutes and alcohol to spend all of the money that they made on, so the elite would get all of their money back. Also now I want to talk about the Nag Hammadi Library. And I had covered this before. It was basically stating that these ancient archons, who I've already proven out were the Cronides, had to change their appearance to mate with human women. And they would bring metals to them, but corrupted the people and caused them to live in slavery. And I'm going to read this. It's from the Apocryphon of John. It says, "And he made a plan with his powers. He sent his angels to the daughters of men, that they might take some of them for themselves and raise offspring for their enjoyment. And at first they did not succeed. When they had no success, they gathered together again, and they made a plan together. They created a counterfeit spirit who resembles the spirit who had descended, so as to pollute the souls through it. And the angels changed themselves in their likeness, into the likeness of the daughters of men mates, filling them with the spirit of darkness, which they had mixed for them, and with evil. They brought gold and silver and a gift of copper and iron, and metal of all kinds of things. And they steered the people who had followed them into great troubles by leading them astray with many deceptions. They, the people, became old without having enjoyment. They died not having found truth, and without knowing the God of truth. And thus the whole creation became enslaved forever, from the foundation of the world until now. And they took women and begot children out of the darkness, according to the likeness of their spirit. And they closed their hearts, and they hardened themselves through the hardness of the counterfeit spirit until now." Now I'm going to prove once again that the demiurge, who is the Yaldabaoth and Saklas, is Cronus. Reading from the hypostases of the archons, it says the following. "This ruler, by being androgynous, made himself a vast realm, an extent without limit. And he contemplated creating offspring for himself, and created for himself 7 offspring, androgynous, just like their parent. And he said to his offspring, 'It is I who am the God of the entirety.' And Zoe, life, the daughter of Pistis Sophia, cried out and said to him, 'You are mistaken, Sakla, for which the alternate name is Yaldabaoth.' She breathed into his face, and her breath became a fiery angel for her. And that angel bound Yaldabaoth and cast him down into Tartarus, below the abyss. Now when his offspring Sabaoth saw the force of that angel, he repented and condemned his father and his mother Mater. He loathed her, but he sang songs of praise up to Sophia and her daughter Zoe. And Sophia and Zoe caught him up and gave him charge of the 7th heaven, below the veil between above and below. And he is called God of the forces, Sabaoth, since he is up above the forces of chaos, for Sophia established him." I'm going to stop. That's Sabaoth is Zeus, and Yaldabaoth is Cronus. This is telling you they put Yaldabaoth into Tartarus, which is below the abyss. They use those words, which is the same thing that happened to Cronus, and the mother goddesses were involved. Sophia is probably Gaia. Zoe is probably Rhea. So the point is that for a long time, this planet has been mined. The trees have been cut down. And this has been going on for thousands of years. If you look at my research, you can go to my hiddenhumanstory.com page. I'll give you a timeline out of these ancient books. And one of the timelines says it's between 10,000 and 23,000 years that Dionysus existed from the time of Alexander. That would put it between 12,000 and 25,000 years ago. Dionysus is the son of Zeus, so that is the time of the Chronides. My research indicates probably 15 to 19,000 years ago. So these techniques used to control humans and strip them of any kind of potential to make wealth and take over as an elite have been used over and over and over and over. Now, I don't know what they're doing with all of these metals and minerals and precious stones, but this mining and cutting down trees has been going on for thousands of years. I also wonder if some of those underground tunnels they talk about all over Europe have to do with the mining as well. What's interesting is that I told you that these beings, these Chronides, had to change their appearance in order to mate with women. And today we're inundated with this imagery of these tall grays and smaller serving grays. I have a picture of the red-haired mummy David found over in China, modern-day China. He has a tattoo of what appears to be a Fibonacci spiral on his face. This is also connected in some of this imagery with these tall grays. And it's found all over the petroglyphs in Nevada. So there are connections, as I've told you. People have been traveling thousands and thousands of years. This whole concoction of Siberians only in America 15,000 years ago is just absolute nonsense. They've gotten rid of so much evidence. They've destroyed so many mummies. They refuse to admit that there's letters that are Phoenician-like all over America, symbols all over the place that are global. They absolutely just, in academia, refuse to admit it. So I wouldn't doubt what this guy said in his what this guy said in his video. There are no forests on the flat Earth. Probably has a lot of truth to it. I would definitely say 100% they've been mining, making these huge canyons, or what appears to be canyons. Probably did cut down some large trees. Like I said, I'm not into this flat Earth stuff, so don't even bother to comment, but I think he hit on something. And there is evidence that these petrified trees do end up turning into precious stones. So it's a good video. People shouldn't jump on him too much. I think he's brought up some really good points to make you think and to start looking at the world with a different pair of eyes, as I've been trying to do with these ancient books. And hopefully you'll start doing your own research as well. Thanks.